talking about Montage, the dance group here at Hines and Raymond. You guys just finished up last week here on campus. Let's talk about it.
Well, you know, last week we did Genesis to Revelations was the title of our work. We have been planning this for a very long time. COVID and the pandemic has kind of gotten in the way, but God had other plans. And the first act of Genesis is our spiritual repertory that me and Miss Leslie, Leslie Johnson, Bridget Archer, Dwayne Pendarvis, Shaquila Pearson have choreographed several of those works that are spiritual works within it. And the second act is the classic work of Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater, and that's Revelations. So that is the most watched modern dance work of all time. When you talk about dance, it takes a lot of work to put into a production such as Genesis to Revelation. Let's talk about the time that you guys had to put in. Wow, you know, you really, how do you quantify time on that? That's like asking a parent, how much time did you put in raising your children from, you know, birth to age 18? It's really probably a good way of looking at it that way. However, it's condensed within a year because it's in the academic season of that, and over the summer we were quarantined, so a lot of things had to be learned through via Zoom videos. And you know, dance is not designed to be instructed in that way. It's very much a social process, and that's sometimes, and then when you're not together, that's a debilitating effort that goes within it. So there's so many entities that goes into a show and a work. It's like the acrobatic acts. You see all the women who are spinning the different plates, and that's what we do. You spin this plate, hopefully it's still turning out to spin this one, and then it's a music mix. Did this dancer have this? Or what about costumes? What about productions and set? There's so many aspects to it that the audience doesn't know, the average individual just doesn't know or care to know. Yeah, so if we could talk time frame, I'm just curious, how many hours, or about how many hours would you say have gone into the actual practice to put on such a production? You know, again, it's really a lifetime of work, honestly, because when I first saw Ailey's Revelations, I was 17. I'm no longer 17 now. Well, so you sure? Probably, yeah, I think so. All right. But so you're thinking on it, and so it goes to the concept of nothing learned is ever wasted. So the journey and the time frame of a dancer is really, you cannot really honestly quantify it. If I said that, okay, last night we met for 2 hours for a rehearsal, that really does not give you justice and a clear dimension of what goes into it, because every student, they started out maybe in a studio. They were dancing with their brother, you know, see what I'm saying? They grew up at the, they were dancing at the family reunion. So it's like those dreams and that practice started collectively between all 40 members, regardless of their age. You're talking about 100 years of work that goes into every show. So Tiffany, we're talking a lifetime of dance, a lifetime of commitment, a lifetime of everything. What made you want to start this? Because you've been doing this for several years now. At this point, yeah. So what made you want to go into dance and choreography and teaching and things of that sort? You know, Revelations was my maturity factor. I fell in love with The Wiz, Grease, Annie, all those movie musicals. I fell in love with that a long time ago. But when I was always in probably more in the infatuation stage. But then I saw Revelations, and it was for the inauguration for Bill Clinton at the time, and I was blown away. Wow. And I didn't have the ability to really articulate that at the time, but I knew that I was like, I want to be able to choreograph and create works just like that. And I think I know that sounds trite, but it's like it chose me, and I didn't choose. I don't know about all that, but at the same time, it was just a motivation of I couldn't see myself not doing this, and I was driving and the car, which is dangerous, you know, and I'm choreographing in my mind, but my dancers and students can easily fall into that. You're constantly thinking about it. Multitasking. All the time. Multitasking. I was doing that today in class. So when we look at this production, Genesis to Revelations, how many people? I mean, I was there. So there was a lot of stuff going, so much to the point I couldn't even keep up. Okay, you had something going on this side, something going. It was great.
Perfect. Never seen it in my life. Okay. So, and never been to a production like that. So you had something going on here, something going on here, something going on here. But this young guy, the whole show is like he was flipping the whole show. Like,
Yeah, there he is
doing
right over there.
This guy, I mean, flipping the whole show. And I'm like, I hope he doesn't fall and stuff. But he had me on the edge of my seat, which was a good thing.
That's awesome.
So when we talk about the number of people, about how many people were in this production? When we talk about the lights, the music, the dancing, the costumes, because I'm just curious.
Well, actual people that are actually physically working on the production is going to be about 50 people, and that's going to be the dancers, choreographers, and tech crew, and also supervisors and deans and what have you. However, it goes even further than that, honestly, because every student had a parent to support, even if it was a text. You know, they're part of the process too. You're never really truly divorced from any aspect of it, and so every best friend that comes and supports, they're part of it as well. So it really is very much a holistic process that goes into it. But actually physically involved, I would say it's about 50.
So Tiffany, COVID has affected the way we do everything in our life. Let's talk about COVID, how it has affected the dance industry. Wow.
You know, Broadway is still shut down. Never in my life would I have thought that Broadway would shut down. It just wasn't even a thought. You've got great performers and artists and artisans that they cannot meet. They're having to find other work. They're getting laid off in various theaters, and this is real. We can't do our art, and we're having to get extraordinarily creative. And how do we present this work? Why is it not deemed essential? You're having to collect data even further within the arts and to prove its validity even further and how it can expand within it. One thing about it is helped us all to take a step back and realize what truly is important and what can we do collectively, what can be done, and realize that is not as necessary, and you learn how to live within another limitation. And so you're forced to do everything that you weren't good at doing, and then you have to become good at doing it later. And
so when you're dealing with students, you're on a college campus, Hines to be exact, Hines and Raymond.
That's right.
How did that even work out? I mean, I know some days you probably had to do stuff via Zoom.
We did.
You know, that's kind of unfortunate. When you think dancing is very physical, it's very intimate, you're interacting with people. And the show that I seen last week, okay, let's just say
we're all about it.
Yes, very interactive. How in the world did you make that happen throughout this pandemic, and even, you know, still being able to meet and people getting these dance routines correct and things of that sort? Obviously, we know it took a lot of practice, but you know, how did mentally? Because it's more, I think it's more of a mental thing. You know, when you try to cope with COVID, and then you also have to teach a class and teach dance routines and stuff like that. Let's talk about that.
Oh, well, I mean, that is, I'm pretty dogmatic by nature, and I'm just stubborn. My children will tell you that. But any leadership, I think you got really tested on your patience and your persistence. I would say those two things primarily, and your faith within it. I was very persistent, and just like I'm just not going to take no for an answer. We're going to try it this way. This show was actually supposed to be in September.
Wow.
And it got pushed back because of the pandemic. It's no one's fault. It's just a situation. Then we tried it again for February of Black History Month. Didn't work out. Ice storm hit. So many factors, but you know, it just lets you know that patience, faith, persistency. I think God really wanted this plan right before Easter, so we did it right before Palm Sunday, and it just lets you realize that this 30-year dream that I've had, it was really specifically designed, and the people that were supposed to be there are supposed to be there.
That's good.
And so much so that we've been invited to come back to do an encore performance with the city of Jackson at Thalia Mar Hall to spread the word even further of what we're doing. But persistence is the key, a lot of that, and then there's patience, and there's a whole lot of yelling and fussing along the way, but you know, that's part
so
of it.
Along this journey, obviously people get emotional.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about that emotional side, the side that people do not want to talk about. Sometimes during this pandemic, people have wanted to give up. They've been wanting to quit. This isn't for me. This is for me. This isn't for me. Let's talk about that part. Obviously, there is an emotional side to it.
You know, emotions are not just crying and imploding. Sometimes emotions are just the opposite. You're angry, you're frustrated, I'm tired of this, I'm not going to be living like this. All the emotions that come in from any kind of emotion that you can think of, everyone has experienced it in the dance company. What do you do to keep moving forward? Is that probably the question?
That's a good question.
We're dancers. That's what we do. We move. We do. We move, and it's one movement moving forward. And sometimes it's baby steps, and sometimes it's grand leaps. Within that, not everybody continued forward throughout the semester and throughout the year. That's part of the process as well.
So what's next for this dance group?
We are planning for MTV, which concludes our season, which is, it's a great way to end the year. It's a light, I think we needed some lightheartedness. This was, Genesis to Revelations was really poignant and touchy, and it had a nice anchor to the feelings of that. And MTV is light, and we were just rehearsing last night, and some of them didn't know who MC Hammer was, and I was like, oh. I know.
Oh, I got my face on the camera doing that face.
So we're learning about that. It's like, and they're reconnecting with their parents, and they're talking about it. This is what happened in the 90s, and, you know, Total Request Live, and all those. And that's life. It has its heavy weight, and it has its lightness. And, you know, Montage Theater of Dance here at Hinds Community College, we are really moving more so than anyone, and I didn't necessarily realize that until I think last week, as we did A Christmas Carol, we did Genesis to Revelations, we're getting ready to do MTV, and all this is throughout a pandemic. We've done videos, we've recorded our dancers. We have so many dancers that have gotten accepted into major dance programs, whether it be Ohio State University, Alabama State University, University of Memphis. And so what are we teaching? We're teaching that, you know, problems are going to be there. How you handle and how you move through it is what it is. And we really want the world to know that Hinds Community College is a great place to be. And Montage Theater Dance doesn't need to be the best kept secret. It really is, I think, a big part of the cultural ambassadors that we represent here.